Hi, beloveds. How are you doing today? Let's talk about how to get free training at work and develop and strengthen your resume. So, I'll tell you a story. I worked in the federal government on and off for maybe just over 10 years. And one of the positions I had, my first federal position started out in an organizational development office. It was the organizational effectiveness group. So, we did OD work in the agency. But I was really interested in training and development, employee development. That's what I also had a lot of curiosity around. And so I worked with my boss. I was there for maybe a year. And once I felt I got my job down, pretty pat, I was getting great. I had a great performance appraisal and really good feedback. So I talked to my boss and I said, hey, I'm very interested in learning more about employee development and training. I know, is there anything you can do to help me? It's something that I want to grow. And I had some ideas I wanted to share with him. So some of the work I did, any work that we did in our office that dealt specifically with employee development, I wanted to be a part of. And then he also, I can't remember who suggested it or not because it was so long ago, but what we ended up doing was he allowed me to work in the employee development and training department one day a week. So that was awesome. So he spoke to the supervisor down in that department. That guy was like, sure, he's happy to get help. And my boss was kind enough to lend me out for one day a week. And so I got some really great experience in that office. And I was able to strengthen my resume. So I had not only organizational effectiveness experience, but I also had training and development experience. So it was really great opportunity. And I didn't have to pay anything for that. In that particular agency, the training budgets just were not that great. So we tried to find other ways that we can grow our folks without spending money. And that was one of the ways. So I share with you that story because think about your workplace, whether you're in an office setting or not. Think about first, what you want to do. What areas do you want to grow? What's your next move? And think about that. And then once you have an idea of what your next step is or where you'd like to grow to strengthen your own, background and experience, then look around where you're at and see, maybe I work in retail and, I do stuff on the floor, but I want to learn how to do the cashier work. Or I work at Domino's Pizza and I pick up the phone, but I want to know how to make pizzas too. So ask, see what else you want to do, ask around, ask your boss, and then see if you can get that experience, some on the job training. And then that way, if someone calls out sick, you can cover that shift, that other kind of work. And so what it does is it makes you more valuable to the employer because if someone calls out, you're multifaceted. You can work the cashier and you can make pizza. You can do this, you can do that. So not only does it benefit your employer, but it benefits you because now you can add new things to your resume, new work experience without having to pay anything. Now, keep this in mind. When you work cross-functionally, sometimes, let's say, a restaurant job, you're a server. But you want to learn how to bake something or whatever. And your boss is like, sure. The chef is like, sure. So they train you. The people who do the baking might get paid a different salary than you being a waitress. So it's worth it when you're growing and strengthening your resume. But at a certain point, it doesn't make sense to be paid a waitress wage while you're baking, which if you're baking, you should be getting at least minimum wage. But when you're a waitress, you get less than minimum wage and you get to make up your minimum wage with tips. But you can't be tipped when you're baking, whatever. So keep those things in mind. But again, it's worth it to a certain extent. And then after a certain point, you may want to negotiate, okay, if I'm covering for someone on this particular job all day, I should be paid that wage versus, being paid your base waitress wage when you're not going to be getting those tips. Or otherwise, your supervisor should, supplement your non-tipped wages to keep you at minimum wage. So keep that in mind too. And then the other thing is try to make it regular. So let's say your normal job is a waitress and you've learned how to do some baking, right? Try to get an opportunity to bake at least a few times a month. Don't just make it a one-time thing and then never do it anymore. Keep up those skills and remind your boss, hey, so-and-so is out, or if so-and-so calls out or you need a backup for the baking, let me know because I'm happy to cover for that. And then that just makes your resume stronger. And the other thing it does is, let's say one day you leave that restaurant job, right? And when you're looking for new jobs, not only can you put on there that you're looking to be a waitress, but now you can apply to baking jobs because you have baking experience. Isn't that awesome? So think about that, and you can apply this concept to office job work, any kind of work. Just keep in mind the pay differences, and keep in mind trying to make it a regular thing to keep up these skills of the supplemental work that you're doing. Okay, so that's a tip. And I'll just check in my notes to make sure I shared everything I want to share. I think that's about it. So again, that's a great way to get some experience if your employer, isn't paying for training, or you just want to grow. And it's a win-win. It wins for you and it wins for the employer, and it can be a really great thing. And it also shows initiative. You're showing your employer, like, hey, I want to learn more. I'm very into this organization, and I want to learn more here where I am. And many employers will look at that in a really positive way. All right, so take care. Hope that helps. And comment down below if you have any questions. I'd love to answer your questions and keep chatting with you. Okay, bye-bye, guys.